You're able for the pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Asbach.
Present.
Asbach.
Present.
Asbach.
Present.
Simeon.
Present.
Finch. Present. Neal.
Present.
Castro. President Schmidt.
Present. Thank you, Madam Clerk. We do have remote electronic attendance tonight.
I would like to make a motion to approve the remote electronic attendance of Mayor Rafferty at the City Council meeting of April 14, 2026 due to employment purposes or other city business. Second.
Roll call, please.
Alderperson Schmidt.
Aye.
Silas.
Aye.
Macias. Asbach.
Aye.
Simeon.
Aye.
Finch.
Aye.
McNeil.
Aye.
Castro. Aye.
That is 8 ayes, no nays. Welcome, Mayor Rafferty. She might just be listening in tonight, not participating, but if she wants to.
I'm here.
Oh.
I'm just at a restaurant and I forgot my headphones. Sorry.
Oh, no problem.
Captions on.
Thank you. Next, we have public comment. Chief Galt. On your honor. Thank you. Do we have any questions on the agenda tonight? Hearing none, we can go with 7.1 solar farm update. We have Sean Ajazi online.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Yes.
Yes.
Hear you well, Sean.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to talk about the current status of the community solar program with Community Power Group and kind of what's the trajectory of the program, what's been kind of going on, and then kind of key dependencies, and then what next steps potential. So Community Power Group is continuing to explore all available options with Mid-American. Mid-American Energy doesn't currently have a traditional community solar program as in other utility companies like ComEd and Ameren throughout the state. Community Power Group has been working directly with Mid-American to explore different types of options that are available through both the program that administers the community solar program of Illinois Shines, as well as direct participation with Mid-American residents. The goal is to determine what is the best path viable structure that can be implemented under the existing state and regulatory framework that both the state has and what Mid-American can agree to. Key points here for Mid-American is that we're looking to confirm that they can support the billing mechanisms and crediting structure that are required for community solar. It is a discounted rate for the subscribers under the program. The Illinois Shines program, which is the program administered by the state, the confirmation that the project can meet subscriber participation and both eligibility requirements can be administered throughout the Mid-American territory. So as both parties, all three parties, Mid-American, Illinois Shines program, and Community Power Group are meeting on a consistent basis and looking at and reviewing the different type of paths and looking to obtain specific clarities for both programs to see what's the best path forward for the community solar project for the city of Moline. Community Power Group has also engaged subscription companies because there is not a current program for community solar Mid-American. They do have to work with some third-party vendors to administer credits, and those providers then have to sync up with Mid-American to ensure billing can be proper as well. So there's multiple conversations that are going on at a time with different stakeholders throughout the whole project. We anticipate in seamlessly kind of the process going along is we have working on the lease options, it's up to that effect with the city's attorney, and we're, once we have the full defined path, we'll look to finalize those and bring forth those to the city for. So currently, we're still having conversations with Mid-American as well as the state administrative program to ensure, what the best path forward is for the city of Moline's project. I don't have a full timeline because these are regulatory conversations to provide at this time, but we're continually progressing forward for the project.
Sean, are any of these
So that's
I was gonna ask, are any of these regulatory conversations slowing us down to the point where we might miss deadlines for federal reimbursement, some of those solar deadlines that are in place?
So a lot of the developers have safe harbored much of the materials and kind of put together the path forward for the parameters for the tax credits that are available. So there hasn't been any indication that due to the first of a kind nature of the program within Mid-American, that there's non-clarity for the tax credit. So at this time, that is not a key point that we're concerned with. Because they have met the criteria of safe harboring materials and the parameters that the federal government has put into place.
That's good. I'll talk a little bit about the lease between the city, Sean, and Community Power Group and the effort where that is at, because it's a pretty complex lease with many, many red lines.
I can probably speak to that better, actually. I am scheduled to be speaking with the attorney for CPG on Monday. There have been many red line versions of this passed back and forth. At this point, all but maybe one or two issues, I think we have a solution to. It's really more about just the attorneys arguing about the language. I've got preferred language that I've sent to them, which is different than the language they preferred. So hopefully by the end of Monday morning, Monday afternoon, we should have it down to one issue, which has to do with the type of information that we want them to give us regarding their funding sources, and the type of information that they want us to give to their funding sources in order to make sure they can secure that funding. That is going to be a higher level. Basically, it'll be all of you or Bob making the decision with regards to that. I'm addressing more how is it that we structure potential liability and things like that. So it is a very lengthy lease. It deals with a number of different issues ranging from access to the site in order to determine where they can build appropriately. They know about the size that they're going to need, but the exact location within the site is still going to need to be determined based on a variety of things they're going to look at with regards to how easy it will be to access the site, construct on the site, etc. And then there are issues that they want assurances with regards to not having contaminants already on the site. We want assurances with regards to them removing the entire facility when this is over with. There are a variety of issues, but I think that we have them all pretty well worked out. The two that I identified with regards to the funding, that's really, I think, the big issue that will still be here after Monday. And I don't know enough about their reasons for the things they're asking to be able to advise whether or not we should agree to what they're asking.
Any questions from council?
One more thing. Yeah, one more thing, Sean. I know Arnie is on as well. See, he's joined. Talking about eventualities, right? Assuming that what we've described, what we laid out in the RFP, and what everyone responded to, if everything goes well, we go forward. In the alternative that we're not able to structure some type of a community-based power system where we're sharing these, credits with the low to moderate income properties here in the city. Next step would be moving forward with what? Would that be just simply having an agreement to produce this power, put it on the grid with Mid-American, and then just take the money as a city instead of just 2 megawatts and sharing 3, taking all 5 megawatts? I mean,
Yeah, I think that would be an option to explore, with Mid-American to see if that would be something that they would be interested in. I would definitely agree with that. I'm not sure if that's something they would be agreeable to, but we can continue we can ask those discussions, have those discussions.
I guess just the council's opinion on that, because we did start out at the very beginning 2 years ago, 22 megawatts. It was all going to be, produced for the city. Then we found out that was not viable for Mid-American. There's not enough power down there to support 22 megawatts, and then they offered up 5 megawatts. Right, and then we talked about the Shines program. We talked about community-based solar. And we, of course, did not forget about, the desire to have pollinators down there as well, right? So in the eventuality that we cannot establish this relationship properly with Mid-America, we're challenged by it and how it impacts all of their rate users, subscribers, what we're learning, because somebody's got to pay for the cost of this extra administration. They don't want to pass that on to all their subscribers. That's coming right from them. So the reality is that if we were to take on all of the power, all 5 megawatts, right, and distribute 3 of it to the low to moderate income neighborhoods, you can do what you want with those funds then. I mean, just like when we started out, if we wanted to have so much, resource allocated to benefit low to moderate income neighborhoods, you could. But then you're free to use anything you want. Could be roads, could be sidewalks, could be building houses, could be pretty much anything. So just thoughts on that. I mean, if we get to this push point where, we're not going to make it with Mid-America, we have to have a fallback position, or we walk away entirely. Right? Or that we don't walk away entirely.
Well, as we continue to pursue community solar as that primary, I mean, I think when we still want to move forward with the solar project that's going to be most advantageous to the city, we can revisit how we allocate those resources, where that comes from when that moment comes. Because there's a lot of ways to address that from a policy standpoint.
Right. Exactly.
And so I think, I would say yes, carry on through that path, but I'd rather we do it in the way that is the simplest and easiest. I mean, is it a matter of us paying the administrative side out of the agreement?
I don't think we got that far. I mean, that's a great question, Sean. I mean,
Because I do think that's a fair point to not charge every subscriber
it is a
for an
fair
administrative point of what we're, but if we just take a slightly reduced amount of benefit because there's an added cost, I don't see a problem with that.
That was explored as an option by the Community Power Group to take on the payment of the administrative costs as part of the project. Mid-American took an unfavorable position on that because it would be one company paying for one specific role versus how the regulatory statutes are for a utility company. So I know that was looked at, but Mid-American took an unfavorable stance.
Mayor Ryan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, sorry about that. I just wanted to say that I don't think we should allow an administrative issue to stop us from doing something that's good for the city, for the residents, and the environment.
I think we'd all agree with that.
I would agree. I mean, I personally feel if the municipal component of this is so novel that we are hitting roadblocks, I would rather fall back on finding a way to just recognize the money and then from a policy standpoint, we decide the programs that are what we're going to fund. And that is much preferable to inventing a wheel, I guess, at this point.
That's all we're doing.
If Mid-America's never done it. Obviously that,
No.
I don't think we've come to a head yet with that. But we're
close.
open, I'm open to that personally. I think we would prefer that over nothing at all.
It's a consensus of the council, I guess would be my question. There's so much time and energy invested in this by consultants, by the attorney, by the staff. I'd hate to see this hit the wall and just like slide off. I'd rather find a path forward to produce a meaningful result. And now that this council and future council decided it's a 40-year project. So, 20, I think it's 20 originally or 25 originally, and then it has renewals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is a significant amount of time, and most of us won't be here in the chairs that we're sitting in. So,
In 40 years.
Guarantee it. So,
Yeah, right now, it actually looks like it could be a 50-year project, but that's one of the things we're gonna address on Monday. I think 40 years is actually what it should be, but there's a little error. I think it's an error that needs to be corrected in the lease.
Okay.
That's one of the things for Monday morning.
so, all right. Any other points you want to add, Sean or Arnie?
I don't have any other points at this time. Continue to apprise the city's team as to progress that we have on the Mid-American side and the Illinois Shines side with the Community Power Group efforts.
And I want to thank Sean for all his effort on this and Bill's with the attorneys, because I've seen a lot of leases, but this one is like extremely complex. And it got to a point where you couldn't tell any longer where the changes were being made. It was that complex with everything going back and forth. So just want council to know that's where we're at on the project, that we still want to move forward. I'm happy to hear that, you want a path forward one way or the other, and we're going to find one for you and get you there.
Thank you, Sean.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Appreciate it.
Next we can move to 7.2 Riverfront and Center Plan update. We have Brett from MKSK online.
Hi, everyone.
Hi, Brett. So Brett's going to give you an update what we want to do going forward, because of the nature of this project and the level of investment by the city and by others that will actually take place, and the complexity of this project, because it is an extremely complex project. Providing you with at least quarterly updates as we move forward, because like the solar project, this project is taking a significant amount of time, staff time and energies. And as you'll see from the update from Brett, we've been interviewing companies and firms now for the better part of the night that all want to be a part of this. So I'm trying to fine tune it to a final list and present the council. So it's all yours, Brett. Take it away.
Great, thank you. I'm gonna try to share my screen here. 1 second. I may need to have access to share. You know if that's easy to grant.
We will find out very quickly.
The right guys in the room.
Okay.
Are you able to request access? It shouldn't be.
There's a share button at the bottom of the screen next to invite.
It doesn't give me the option to request. Just the share is like grayed out.
You gotta sign her the moderator role. Take over.
Yeah, I may do that.
Oh, hold on, I think I might have just gotten it. Oh, okay, I think I've got it here.
You sure
You guys
do.
see that?
Yes.
Wonderful. Okay, let me make that full screen for you. All right. I can't see any of you while I'm presenting, so please feel free to shout out if you'd like me to pause. Just a couple slides here to bring everyone up to speed. From previous presentations. Master plan, which was adopted this past summer by City Council. It was wonderful to be part of that documented plan for downtown Moline and the riverfront. And now we're looking ahead and how do we move into the next phases of design. So we've been working with city staff to develop what those next stages are. So we're excited to share with you a little today of where we're at in that process. Just a couple recaps of where we left off with the music plan here, some pretty pictures that were developed as a part of that. Very exciting things to look forward to. We'll talk a little bit about the upcoming scope that we're currently developing with the city. We're looking at how the city is going to come together as staff to be organized in order to provide meaningful feedback into this process. So we'll look at that a little bit. We'll look at how our consultant team is organized, and then also the schedule and scopes of the work that are coming out of this effort. So just a quick recap. I know you all are probably very familiar with these beautiful renderings of the future riverfront, but we're so very excited about where this is headed and a lot of the great ideas that the community really helped to develop with the design team and the city during this process for the last couple of years. So just a recap of both the riverfront park space and then the associated riverfront district development that we're excited to hopefully usher in over the next many years here. With that, looking at it from a site perspective, you're seeing the riverfront sort of core district, which is north of River Drive and west of I-74 and south of the Mississippi. We are looking at the core of the park area being adjacent to the Mississippi River, and then a more, private developed district south of that area, connecting over to River Drive, and then an additional commercialized area could be mixed use residential just south of River Drive. We're calling that the gateway site because it really is the first thing that you see when you come off of that off ramp off I-74. So something that welcomes folks into this district and into downtown. What we're going to be focusing on as we move into the next stages of design is looking at the site from a more technical level. You may remember from last week, there was some site investigative work that was approved for the site, including topographic survey work and geotechnical work. That's going to give this design team more information about what exists today on the site in its present condition. That's really going to help to, start to provide the depth to the next stages of design. So what we'll be looking at is the existing Bridgepoint building, which resides in this northeast corner of the site, understanding what parts of that building can be reused and adapted for future use, and what parts of the building may need to be demolished. So really looking carefully at that so that we can start to take steps in that direction towards protecting parts of the building and demolishing other parts of the building. And then, of course, the tower is a part of that mix, and that tower will be remaining and be protected and reused by Hyperlift, which has been talked about in the past as well. The park areas are shown here in green. Those would also be another part of the schematic level design study, where we would understand what's going on with the site from flooding that will occur from the Mississippi. We know we need to know how to handle that expertly and make sure that we're designing a resilient landscape. But we also need to understand things like existing utilities. Can we reuse them? What are some of the new structures that might need to go into the park, from an amphitheater stage to, if there's a cafe or a playground or these boardwalks and overlooks. We're going to be looking at all of those design items more critically and really starting to design them. And then south of that area where it says streets, I noted just streets because everything south of this line, First Avenue that runs through the site, we're thinking of that as private development. However, we really want to make sure that those parts of the sites are ready to be developed. So what does that mean? That means getting all of our utilities and infrastructure in place, having streets in place, having lots that are ready to be developed, kind of a clean slate, for lack of a better term. So the city is invested in creating developer-ready lots for future development to occur. So with that, I wanted to bring forth a little bit more about the organization of how we're going to proceed here in some of the upcoming design steps. The city's already put together these wonderful working groups, from the executive working group, which is going to be following along from a high-level oversight perspective, really tracking with us on major design decisions moving forward. A financial working group that's really going to be exploring opportunities for grant applications, structuring funding and financing, and working closely with us as we develop more thorough and up-to-date cost estimations for the project, to really get a handle on how we can create plans to finance each phase moving forward. And then a technical working group. This will involve, the engineers on staff, some of the departments within the city, any other consulting engineers or governmental agencies for permitting that we're going to need to consult with on matters of feasibility for the design. So really excited to have all these folks at the table. We've started to have some conversations with some of them, and we'll continue to do that as we move forward. In addition, our consultant team, myself, Brett Weidel, I will stay as the principal in charge from MKSK. MKSK will remain as the primary consultant for this team, which I think lends a great continuity between the planning phase and the implementation phase that we're now entering. Kelly Murphy is going to be our project manager. She's also a landscape architect here with me in Chicago. And then beneath MKSK, we're going to have a host of sub-consultants. And this is what Bob was mentioning, where we've been talking to different consultants that specialize in very different disciplines to bring them into the team, because before we had a planning team, now we're pivoting to a technical implementation team. So there are some specialized disciplines we need to bring in to the team, including site surveyor, geotechnical, civil engineer, which is going to play a very substantial role in designing the site, cost estimator that's going to help us, provide those probable cost estimates, architects that are going to look at the existing buildings on site and also future buildings and help us design those, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing engineers, structural engineers. We may have a water feature designer in there preliminarily just to help us get a handle on, do we want to have some water features on site? What do those start to look like? And then thinking about public space programming, we need to make sure the site is secure. It also accommodates the events that, the city and the community want to have in the park space, but then also that it can be maintained long term. So we're really thinking far out into the future about making sure this is a sustainable site for both the short term, but also long term into the future. When Bob mentioned that we've been talking to various sub-consultants, this is just a quick list of some of the interviews that we've had to date. So we actually went out, we got proposals from a number of architects, 4 architects listed here, and we've had conversations with each of them. Same thing with civil engineers, because these are 2 disciplines that are just going to be such a big part of this team moving forward. We've had conversations with 6 different civil engineer teams, and are really honing in on what the right team fits for those are. There are a couple, so like Plato and EMHT were both involved in the planning team, and they were both interviewed for this future implementation team as well. So we're just honing in on who those selections are going to be, and should know that here soon. But that really takes us into what does the scope look like moving forward. So this is just a timeline. You can kind of see highlighted where we're at sitting today in mid-April. I'm sure you've heard about the environmental work that's going on. The city is leading for the Bridge Point building and the site. We're also looking at city parking study that's currently going on. So I just have some descriptors about those 2 city-led efforts, that we're currently collecting data on the environmental work that's been done for Bridge Point that's going to shed light on what needs to happen to remediate both the building and the site moving forward to make those both safe spaces or building on into the future. So that work is almost complete, and we will be wrapping up those reports and moving into an action steps phase so that we know how to synthesize the information and move it into action for when we get into demolition and site earthmoving. The city parking study is a citywide parking study that's being done by a consultant through the city. That's another study that's going to be a really big part of this effort. We need to make sure that we can park this site appropriately. So we will probably be engaging with that team, even though they're on a separate contract, to really start to piece together, okay, we're gonna need this many spots in a garage or this many spots on site, and how that coordinates with the rest of what's going on downtown to make sure that those are really married up and synced up together. This leads us into the MKSK consultant-led scope that I mentioned. Past couple months, since January, at least, as Bob mentioned, we have been working with the city very closely to develop what this scope entails, and it is very complex. And so we've been moving pieces and parts around in a puzzle to some degree, because we're really trying to set the stage up so that this is a fluid project moving forward. There's a lot of strategy involved, but also just a lot of careful steps that we're trying to make here. So we've been thinking about positioning the site investigation, which was approved by council last week. We're thinking about the Bridgepoint building. How do we reposition that for potential demolition and adaptive reuse? And then we're also thinking about the entire site and how do we take that to the next level of schematic design moving forward. So that site investigation really will include a topographic survey, geotechnical investigation, and we're hoping to get that authorized here very shortly since it's been approved. And so between May and July, we hope to have that information back. And then we will very quickly move into looking at that Bridgepoint repositioning, understanding that building further. There may need to be a closer look at that building. We're considering bringing in a contractor just to help us investigate that building further. To know what's at play, know what we need to protect, if we need to relocate any utilities. It's going to be a very careful process that we want to embark on here in 2026, and hope to see some movement towards the end of the year and into the new year with that demolition. Simultaneously, we hope we can run a concurrent path of riverfront schematic design work that will involve the site primarily. So that's, again, it's looking at the park, it's looking at the roadways, the utilities, the floodway strategy, understanding what the permitting agencies are going to require of this project, doing the cost estimating, and coming up with a phasing strategy that's really going to articulate how this plan is implemented into the future. Because that's going to take us right into phase implementation, where we might start to slice and dice the site into, phase 1, phase 2. And that's where we can start to construct and actually start to build things. So 2027, we're hoping that we can get to that point where we're putting together construction documentation or built work on the riverfront site. All the while, a couple other projects I didn't want to fail to mention here that are by others. The tower repurposing, which I believe was initiated early April or late mid-March. That is going to be moving forward with Hyperlift. And then the 200 Spiegel building, which I know has been discussed, as well as getting some proposals for that repurposing and reuse, that will be ongoing as well into the future. So I'm going to pause there. That is a lot of information. I really thank you all for having me here tonight to talk about this, but I'll just pivot over to some Q&A and discussion, and thank you so much.
Any questions from the council?
Yes,
Mayor Iafalli?
it is because trust moves at the speed of relationships, meaning the community needs to trust that the process we have in place is the right one and we're doing the right things. Will there be movement down there on buildings, meaning are we tearing down? Are we moving earth? Are we opening up the earth in this calendar year?
Because we are very close to the community not trusting this process.
Well, that's a very good question. I know it's something that we are aiming for. Certainly, there have been a lot of things to set up this project for success. As I just mentioned, a lot of layers. We did have that demo portion of the project further out, and then we shifted it actually forward into 2026. So what I can tell you is we are prioritizing that. That's why we've had the architectural interviews. That's why we're honing in on who those selections are going to be, because once we have those selections, we're going to move right into developing that Bridgepoint adaptive reuse and demolition package. And so that's really going to be our key hot priority this year to get something moving. I think we still have to get that team assembled and moving to get that schedule together to understand, when can we get shovels in the ground. But really that's our goal. And if we can articulate, hey, there's parts of these buildings that really it's not going to affect anything if they come down. That's something we've honed in on too, because I think that's a great possibility that there are pieces and parts that can come down with no great issue, but we really do want to be mindful of the areas of the building that maybe are a little bit more sensitive and make sure that we're being strategic about those areas.
Okay, thank you very much.
Brett, I had a question. You had talked about maybe grading streets and pads prior to building construction in the private residential section. Is it wise to do so without knowing what's going to go there? I asked because I read that book, Devil in the White City, where they had to do the honeycomb underneath, and we are so close to the river. I don't know how tall these buildings are going to be, and structurally, why are we building streets before we know what's going on the spots?
Well, it's a very good question. What I will say is in schematic design, we are looking at the streets. We are looking at these parcels through the lens of all of the site investigation work that we're about to be privy to in the next couple months. Without that information at our disposal, we won't know the answers to any of those questions. So we need to get through a schematic design phase, looking at everything together with that information at hand, so that we can start to make realistic decisions about what are those phases that move forward. We might discover something that says, hey, you're not going to want to build this street until you build this building. So those are the answers that we're seeking with more information at hand. But again, it will also go to, once we come up with a cost estimate and the phasing plan, that's also really going to start to articulate what goes in first and what goes in second and third and so on, so I won't say that we have that completely fleshed out. We have an idea, which is what we're presenting that idea for, but I think it will very much be shaped in the coming months with more information in our hands.
Thank you.
Just to add to that, all that design is taking into consideration the fact we do have existing infrastructure, so we're trying to maximize the preservation of that very sufficient infrastructure. This is effectively connecting a street grid. Preliminary layout of all the blocks have been done to ensure that we can circulate parking garage and things like that. So these are pretty standardized approach to blocks, and I think that's where we're going to test. But it's definitely the mind of connecting the street grid, existing streets, extend over, and preserving infrastructure. And those are some of the knowns that we have.
Will this be maybe restoring some of the original roads as they were? I think we still have the right of ways for that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
First, second, and third.
Reestablish.
So Brett, on the timeline, plans and construction implementing 2027, if all goes well with engineering and design, we could have a riverfront park in 2027.
I would say likely not 2027 exactly, like it'll be done. There's still a number of design phases that we have to go through. So schematic is the first phase, then there's design development, and then construction documentation. So what we had thought of in 2027 is design development and construction documentation. We need to get to that very technical level where we're drawing blueprints, we're coordinating all the things that have to get built on that site. And then it will go through a permitting process. And that permitting process, depending what's in that phase, could vary. We know that the riverfront in particular, we're gonna have to go through a number of agencies, including Army Corps, FEMA, IDNR. So that process, depending on what the design is, it can vary. We can't really pinpoint, oh, it's gonna be this long or that long. It's really, we're at the mercy of the agencies to some degree once we get into that. But I will say, if we create a phase that doesn't include anything touching the river's edge, say it's more of this bridge point work, or it's some of the, like we're talking about a parking garage maybe going over there, that might not have to go through that extensive permitting process. So that's the work that we're kind of expediting at the front end here. So we don't have, so maybe we can be doing that work while we're looking at the riverfront and while we're going through that longer Mississippi River permitting process. So trying to be strategic to like elevate up the things that we can do. And then while we're waiting, let's wait productively and like get some shovels in the ground elsewhere.
We also are waiting on the build grant notification, which would be street work, right of way, everything like that, which we should know in June. So the timing of what they're doing is aligning with that notification. If we were to get the funding, it lines up.
So all those things considered, do you think we could have a riverfront park in 2028?
I love your question. I love that you want the riverfront park. I do too. I think that is
Go ahead.
optimistic, and hopefully we can aim for it. I mean, like I said, I think we're just gonna know more once we go through schematic design, because we have to sit down with the agencies. Once we can get in a room with them, we can start asking them those hard questions, like, how long is this gonna take, guys? What do we need to do? And making those design decisions, we're just gonna start to narrow in on that timeline. And so I hesitate to give any firm answers at this point until we have this conversation. But absolutely, we are with you. We wanna, have it happen as soon as possible.
Sorry, just two things we, and Brett, you kind of touched on, but not to lose sight of. In the earlier design phase, even though it's just the master plan and schematic, we did advance and pull forward the floodplain analysis. So that's something that would normally be happening now. We did pull that component forward because just to test the validity of the design. Point was to draw a building in a space that you can't ever succeed on. So we were able to advance some of that with Army Corps of Engineers, and then also IDNR provided valuable information on the actual river edge of the structure. There's a lot of information that we need to pull that forward. So that is really, of course, Brett, you're speaking thoughtfully and cautiously, which is the right thing to do. But we did also identify this that northeast section of the site very strategically, where there are some existing buildings, and really narrowing in on the floodplain and what can be built there. And that's to make sure we position that so that can advance potentially forward as part of that early phase one. So we've been dialing in on early launch portions of the site.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of complex projects in my time. This is probably one of the most complex that I've come across. It's up at the top three. So, I mean, patience, perseverance, and we're going to get there. I know we're going to get there. Whether we're dancing in the park, and music comes to the amphitheater in late 27 or in 28 is no consequence that we're dancing at some point is important. And getting there cost efficiently, right? There's other grants that we're pursuing. Dawn's been, apt at getting grants in and submitting them. So pursuing other people's money, federal money, to try and make this happen. State dollars where they become available. Carol's nodding her head, thank God, yes. All she does is see dollars. And but I think that that's the river. That's the riverfront. Then there is the center gateway, which is a different animal. It's a different beast altogether. So we're also doing site survey work there because we know we could advance something on that property quicker than we can on the riverfront. But it could very well be that you'll see something happen at the center, the center gateway before we're dancing in front of the amphitheater. But either way, they complement each other. And one, like a domino, will cause great interest in the remaining 4 developable parcels, right? One that we own half of and 3 that we own 100% of. The 4th one that we're actually selling. So it's starting to happen. Right?
And movement is movement, and that's kind of, I think, what we're all kind of looking for.
This is complex, like the lease he worked on for solar, right? But I don't think the leases here or the, purchase sales agreements here will be anywhere as complex as what we're dealing with on the solar side of the house. So
I hope not.
Yeah. Christie.
Yeah, anything else? Anything else from council?
Barry, you got anything on this?
No, I mean, Brett pretty much hit the nail on the head with the timeline and, muscles is a big unknown. That you can miss an entire construction season just waiting for some of these studies to come back.
And you've experienced that at previous communities.
Yeah. The grants, there's pennies from heaven and there's pennies from, and the grants can come with a whole nother set of conditions, can spur other requirements. It could be, SHPO could be involved. When I've done a project on the river before, we had an archaeologist literally standing over the hole where the excavator was working and watching every scoop come out. So those are some of the things, the unknowns that we just have to walk into open-eyed.
I think on a positive note, maybe we can mention this too. I mean, we did have a great meeting here this last week, Thursday, with Environet and the person, I guess the president of Environet, right? And we kind of went through all their initial findings. I'm not going to say final findings, but their initial findings of all the borings they did on a site. I don't know, do you remember how many borings there were? It was close to
It's like 50.
50 or more, I don't know, it was a tremendous number of borings, and the site for the most part, given its historical history and location, is relatively clean. They expected worse. What they found wasn't that bad. It wasn't 100% great, but it wasn't as bad as it could have been, considering there were tool and die fabricators there, and
There was a
metal platers,
real line going.
rail line that ran right through it. I mean, there's a multitude of different businesses in the last 150 plus years, 70 years actually, who used that site. So surprisingly, it's a lot cleaner than I expected myself. So I was really pleased. So I'm just passing that on. It's good news.
Good news. Yeah.
I just have one question to comment, because I think that Dan had his hand up first.
Well, he's gone twice.
Okay, I just, I appreciate, everything that you're saying about, I understand that everything takes time for permitting and everything, but I think that some of us are hearing, from some of our neighbors, because they don't see anything, they don't think anything has happened, so I think that any kind of, yes, in this room, we are hearing about it and understand, but any kind of communication that we can get out to the residents, whether it's on Facebook or just other social media, that this is kind of an update on what's happening, and this is happening, and maybe like not necessarily a timeline, but just like it's important things happen. If we can just keep folks updated so that they know that we're just not talking and that things are happening in the background.
That was gonna be my point. I wanted to be clear that I understand all the explanations about the complexities. So I was kind of surprised to see a timeline through 2027 when it's likely going to extend beyond that. So I want to make sure too, I'm hearing the same things, and to the mayor's point and to Alderperson Castro's point, is that we want to update the public on all of the moving parts in this project, and we want to do it right. We want to do it thoughtfully. So understood that this takes time. Just want to be clear.
We will ring that bell regularly. Won't we?
Yeah.
When I have heard from the public on more than one occasion, people they just know we bought the building, they're sitting on it. But so they don't know about all the meetings we've had, public meetings, they don't know about the plans that have been revealed on multiple news outlets and the websites and everything else. So there is still a huge blind spot, and I think anything we can do to fill it in would be Fantastic.
I'll toss an idea out. We use the library to put up static displays of our progress. Right? More people go to the library than any other public building in the city. And I know Brian would just jump at the opportunity to be a part of this and share his space, advertise what we're accomplishing.
It's a good idea.
But just that we had, what you'll see forthcoming is a brand new website RFP that was out in the street. Through the interview process for that, so that would allow us to give, just to hit it straight between the eyes with website can push that information on all economic development activity, include the riverfront specifically. So that'll be that. That's not just social media that's there and gone. This is something that's can be revisited, can be shared with others, and can be constantly updated, and allow us to really control the communicate out to the community. So that's forthcoming to see that.
Your points are all well taken, though.
Any other questions or comments?
No, I would just add, like development projects take years, and this is a massive one, like easily 9 years. Like we could all be out of office by the time we see the full scope of this. So people just have to realize even slow progress, it's still progress. Yeah, it's gonna take a while.
Yeah, and I just wanted to clarify with the timeline that I showed. It kind of stopped at 2027 because I would get too small if I extended it out. But you're exactly right. These things will take time, and it's not going to happen all of it at once. It's going to be pieces and parts kind of happening in different orders. Might not seem logical, but it is because it's strategic. But exactly, it will extend through the years. I think our master plan had this zone kind of 5 to 10 years at the max. So we do need to be prepared for some things to take some time, but also we're trying to be very cognizant of, what can we do quickly? What are those short-term wins that are going to be catalysts and be exciting things for the community to really experience in the short term? So we promise you we're working on that, and would love to talk more with the team about, maybe how we can fulfill some of these needs on the community side too.
Thank you.
It'll be on the next agenda.
All right.
There you go.
Okay, thank you, Brett. We will move.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Brett.
Thank you.
We can move on
Talk to you
to
soon.
7.3, getting to know our sister city, Asbach, Germany. Ashley Allen Smith. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yeah.
Great.
Minimize that. Yeah, there you go.
I think that's perfectly blocking the button that you need to hit. Or viewing perhaps on the top left.
We go full screen. What you're trying to do.
No, I'm trying to start the slideshow. This is Canva. I'm not familiar with Canva.
Okay. Those arrows in the bottom right corner.
Yeah. One's going up.
Okay.
Thanks.
Awesome. All right. Good evening, council and mayor remotely. Tonight I'm excited that I get to share a brief overview of Asbach, Germany. As we're preparing to formalize our sister city relationship with them. It will be at our next council meeting on April 28th. This is an excellent way for us to create opportunities to connect across cultures and strengthen our community. It ties in very well with our aim to kind of diversify our cultural engagement, the social infrastructure that mayor is very passionate about. So this is just an awesome opportunity. Let's go ahead. Oh, this is me.
Is it turned on?
Yes, it is.
Right now.
Oh, there we go. Okay. So what is a sister city? A sister city is a formal partnership between two communities in different countries. It's focused on building long-term relationships. At its core, it's really just about people sharing their culture, exchanging ideas, building connections that benefit both communities. To formalize this relationship, we are going through what is called Sister Cities International. They hold the database of all of the formal sister city relationships. And so why Asbach exactly? It's a very natural fit for Moline once we know the context of it. It's home of Wirtgen Group, which is a global leader in road construction equipment and manufactures machinery used to build and maintain roads and infrastructure. The connection to Moline is that it was acquired by John Deere in 2017, which created that direct connection between our communities. At that time, Mayor Christ, who will be visiting, submitted a letter to us just inviting us to formalize or have this relationship with them, and that began, but from my understanding, the whole process was a bit disrupted by the pandemic, and so we're kind of continuing that conversation now and making it official. This will allow us to build on an existing relationship and make it intentional now. So the next slide, which I believe will autoplay, so I'll say it now. This is just a very short clip to explain what Wirtgen Group is. And once again, that is why we have a relationship with Asbach, is because Wirtgen's headquarters is in Asbach, and John Deere acquired Wirtgen Group.
Pothole a day, comfort and safety on all roads. Did you know that a great deal of the worldwide road infrastructure has its origin in the Westerwald? More precisely in the Asbach community? One of the very strong players in this important market is the globally active Wirtgen Group. On the way to Cologne, motorists pass the industrial area, the A3 in Windhagen. This is an industrial prime location between the Ruhr and Rhine-Main areas. Location of the Wirtgen Group, the technological leader in road construction and rehabilitation. On December 1st, 2017, the Wirtgen Group became a strong part of John Deere from Moline, Illinois, USA. Business in Windhagen is headed by the chairman of the board of management, Dominic Ruccolo, who emphasizes the importance of the location in Asbach municipality.
There. Okay. Then it becomes a commercial, so.
Enjoy.
Yeah. But that's the connection.
Should all practice with your.
Yeah. So to understand Asbach, we refer to it as our sister city, but really it is a municipality that is made up of 4 districts. We have Asbach, of course, we have Buchholz, we have Neustadt, and Windhagen. And they all share services in governance, while they still have their own unique identity. They have a shared administrative structure. And while it's different than ours, it's similar in a sense that there are multiple communities working together. So if you kind of think in that way, it is similar to the Quad Cities in some ways.
But they've only got 4.
We will only have 4.
Right, so they're local government. It is comprised of multiple political groups. So they have the Christian Democratic Union, the Free Democratic Party, the Free Voters Group, the Greens, the Social Democratic Party, and we will have with our visitors that are coming representatives from each one of those parties. It's not terribly important that you know all the details of that, but just to know that they do technically belong to different parties. But because it's local government, they're really very similarly to us, just really working all together to make the best decisions for their community. Let's see. The next slide. This is a picture of their city hall, which is lovely. And about them, I know. They have a very strong sense of community with an emphasis on local traditions. They have their local events that they love. They're into volunteering. They have a population of about 23,000 in Hull, so it's a very close-knit community, and that's a big part of its identity. And then it's your major cities, but with a quieter small town feel, like anywhere else, you know? The next video, this is a tourism video. It's a video for the culture.
Ein besonders schönes Stück Natur, der Westerwald. Im Westen dieser Region liegt unsere Ortsgemeinde Asbach. Gut 7.500 Einwohner sind wir hier, verteilt auf 43 Ortsteile, doch trotzdem verbunden und in direkter Nähe. Wir sind Menschen, die Geselligkeit lieben, die herzlich und gastfreundlich sind, die auch zupacken können und Hilfsbereitschaft zeigen und gleichzeitig bodenständig sind. Eben echte Westerwälder. Anfang des 20. Jahrhunderts war Basalt lange die Haupterwerbsquelle unserer Region. Er prägte die Menschen und die Landschaft. Wir sind stolz auf das, was schon immer hier war und das, was wir geschaffen haben. Heute fällt es uns daher so leicht, unser Land zu genießen und das, was daraus entsteht. Zu Hause sein oder Heimat finden. In alten oder neuen Mauern. Wie will man leben? In Asbach unterstützen wir Ideen und fördern Bau- und Sanierungsprojekte. Somit erhalten und gestalten wir Lebensräume in unseren Dörfern. Vom kleinen Betrieb bis zum Mittelstand. Bei uns wirtschaften viele Unternehmen und bieten damit zahlreiche Arbeitsplätze in unserer Gemeinde. Den richtigen Weg für sich finden. Das tun, was man schon immer wollte. Wir gestalten gemeinsam unsere Zukunft. Dies beginnt bei unseren kleinsten Mitbewohnern, hier in unserem Kinderzentrum und unserem Kindergarten. Bildungshunger und Wissensdurst sättigen wir in unseren Lehrstellen, von Grundschule bis Fachoberschule. Alle Grundsteine sind somit gelegt, um im Leben erfolgreich zu sein. Die meisten Dinge lernt man erst zu schätzen, wenn man sie nicht mehr hat. Egal was fehlt, was zugestoßen ist, unsere Ärzte in Klinik und Praxen geben alles. Alles für die Gesundheit unserer Mitmenschen. Den Alltag weiterhin meistern können. Dabei wird geholfen. Bis ins hohe Alter selbstständig sein. Ein selbstbestimmtes Leben führen, das ist das Ziel. Leben am Lieblingsort. Seine Freizeit frei gestalten können. Einfach mal losfahren. Neues finden. Abenteuer finden. Los. Das Beste aus seiner Zeit machen. Alleine und mit anderen. Bei uns feiern wir die Feste, wie sie fallen. Wir finden zusammen und erleben Gemeinschaft. Wir genießen eine Kultur des Feierns. Wir leben mitten in der Natur und so nah zu den Ballungsgebieten Neuwied, Koblenz und Köln-Nord. Doch eigentlich muss man für den Großeinkauf nicht weit, denn Asbach erfüllt nahezu alle Shoppingwünsche. Somit sind wir der Einkaufs- und Dienstleistungsort in der Region. Heimat ist für uns mehr als nur ein Wort. Freiwillige Feuerwehren, Vereine und ehrenamtliche Initiativen tragen das Leben unserer Dörfer. Die Mitmenschen unserer Gemeinde machen unseren Ort erst lebendig und zu unserer Heimat. Bei uns in der Ortsgemeinde Asbach ist jeder herzlichst willkommen, ob als Gast oder Mitbewohner.
That's our sister city, our sister community, really. And so what the purpose of the partnership is, it's a cultural exchange. It's also going to provide educational opportunities. We'll have student engagement. We will be taking the delegation to the Moline Valley School District's headquarters and also providing a tour of Moline High School. So that'll be very exciting. We'll have just the business connections that can be born out of this relationship.
is awesome. And then just the shared learning, like exchanging ideas and hearing how they do things. They see how we do things. It's just an awesome collaborative opportunity. So for our upcoming visit, they will be with us Monday, April 27th through Wednesday, April 29th. On that Tuesday, April 28th is when we'll have the official signing ceremony shortly before City Council, and they'll be in attendance at that as well, so you'll get to meet all of them. But among the things that we have planned for them, we pretty much have almost every minute accounted for during their stay, which is really exciting. But some of the highlights are that we're going to kick it off at the Dear Wyman House with a nice breakfast. We'll provide them facility tours, so City Hall, police, fire, as well as getting a thorough tour of our North Slope, Public Works, all of that good stuff. Again, the school district and the high school. We'll go over to the John Deere Pavilion, and then Neil Dahlstrom is providing access to his kind of private John Deere Archives Museum. So that's really cool to be able to share with them. Vibrant Arena is providing a tour. We're gonna make sure that they get Lago Marcinos. And then we'll have the official sister signing once again at that city council meeting on Tuesday, April 28th. So that is what we have. So this is a meaningful step in building long-term connections that will benefit both of our communities. And so before we wrap up, I thought that we might learn a quick phrase together. So we're ready when our guests arrive. So if you could please repeat after me. Willkommen en Moline.
Willkommen, Moline.
All right, so we're good to go. Thank you.
The hand,
Yeah, hi, Ashley. If we're gonna show them the library gardens or any of that, outdoor learning, or I've always thought of the library as one of the jewels in our crown, and I would hate to miss an opportunity to share that.
Yes, yep, a library tour is on the schedule for sure.
Okay, great.
And we'll get to show them our new library again as well.
Are there,
bookmobile.
Our bookmobile.
are there any aspects to Moline that are German specific? I know we have a large Swedish population.
Oh, I guess I should mention, we found a really cool opportunity to collaborate with Visit Quad Cities. They provide a certified tourism ambassador course. And so we kind of connected with them and said, hey, with all the information that you have, can you narrow it down to any German connections? So if you are in attendance at the Dear Wyman breakfast, which I believe most people in here have RSVP'd to, Visit Quad Cities is going to give a presentation on any German connections that we have. So
I think their slides said like 30%.
It was significant, yeah.
People living in Quad Cities had German ancestry.
Belgium, Sweden. Yeah.
I would think if we wanted to learn more too, the German American Heritage Center would have in their archives.
Yes. Kirk Marsky is actually, we reached out to the German American Heritage Center for a translator, and he provided a really solid contact, someone that taught German out of the Endorf School for 30 plus years. And so that was an awesome resource that they provided for us. But he'll also be in attendance at, on that Monday, that evening, we'll have kind of like a little meeting, like cocktail hour at the Access. And Kirk Marsky will be in attendance there too. So that'll be a cool opportunity to kind of get them speaking with the German American Heritage Center.
Ashley, have you circulated the entire itinerary, the detailed itinerary to council?
That I'm not sure. I should mention that it's not just me. I'm on the committee. It's myself,
Or
Dawn,
Macy,
and
you were
Macy.
doing that.
No, I don't believe we have, but we absolutely can, and you can let us know. You can pick and choose what you want to go to.
So we'll make sure you get that.
Just questions, aside from this initial signing and the visit that they're coming, how long does the relationship last? Is there a time frame to it? And is there plans for any, for mayor or any members of our staff to visit them in Germany?
Yeah, so that was something that we had explored because I was kind of curious, speaking with our sister cities contact, if we should implement a timeline just to even give us the opportunity like 3 years from now to see, hey, have we been engaging with this enough? Maybe we should refresh this. We did not build that into our agreement. But that is definitely something that we want to be mindful of, is making sure that this isn't just like, you know, take a picture and then maybe 10 years from now we can talk again. Like, we won't do that. But as far as going to Germany,
We're thinking, here we go, here we go. We were thinking about 2027, so next year in the fall, late September.
Yeah, the last.
Am I right in remembering,
Your Honor.
am I right in remembering that my predecessor did go over to Asbach?
You are correct. I think she was there
So
pre-pandemic.
just
yeah,
to Alderperson Castro's point, I mean, there has been one.
that's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, just going through past minutes, essentially, the story seems to be that we really were kind of starting strong with wanting to make this relationship happen. And then really it was just the pandemic that kind of everything shut down, and so kind of shut down that initiative as well.
I think it has a lot to do with relationships. Having worked with Sister Cities International before, getting, you know, Belgrade, Serbia, tied in with the city of Chicago, because there's a million Serbs that live in Chicago. You know, there's linkages you build and relationships you build. You know, in Chicago, Sister Cities, I mean, I don't know, they've got close to 50 Sister Cities now. I think Belgrade was the 35th, and I was told it was only going to be 34. So, you know, strange how voting goes. So we ended up with the 35th. And since that time, there's been another 15 that have been formed, but they're very actively engaged. And you know, they have a lot of cultural exchanges, a lot of art exchanges, sometimes municipal exchanges, staff to staff exchanges, you know, to learn from one another. So it all depends on what you want the relationship to be and how long it'll last, actually. We have two relationships with two cities in Mexico that are basically twinning relationships that were established back, I think, when Stan Leach was mayor. And Stan did go to Mexico. I mean, it's in all of the records that we have. But that's not a formal sister city relationship with either of those two cities. You know, they're both in the same county, so to speak, right, or province, and then there's two cities located in there, which is where most of our Hispanic community members came from, right? So, like Belgium, a lot of the people who here came from Belgium. There's no formal sister city relationship with any Belgium city, so it's endless as to what you want to do with it. I guess is my point. If you want to grow it, you can grow it. If you want to enhance it, enhance it. So it's up to the cities to decide what they want.
Any other questions? We're gonna look forward to this. RSVP if you haven't yet.
Yeah.
All right, if that's it, that concludes our roundtable. Chief, do we have any additional public comment? Thank you very much. That brings us to agenda item number 9, miscellaneous business. Alderperson Silas, do you have any to share?
I don't.
Thank you. Mr. Macias? Your Razak?
No, I'm good on that.
Alderperson Finch? Mr. O'Neill?
No, thank you.
Nothing.
Mr. Schmidt?
No.
Well, I will mention that Alderperson McNeil and I went to Washington School today and saw the United Way's efforts and what they're doing with the community. And it is really heartwarming to see the amount of effort and attention to detail that the administrators of this program work with that community on. And they talked about test scores, they talked about attendance and just meeting basic needs with food banks and clothing, and that they've identified a need and they've put money and resources into it. And I think their existing grant is 3 years that they have.
Through 28.
Through 28. And so it's a really great program, and I would encourage you. And they're just in Moline, they have 6 schools within the Quad Cities they're working with. The ones in Moline are Washington and Wilson. So they're working with students in both of those schools. It's great. If you have an opportunity to visit, I encourage you to. They're more than happy to show off the things that they've done and talk about it. And I think anything that we can do to help meet basic needs, helps people work, helps people not commit crimes. I mean, it benefits the whole community. So I just think anything we can do to help with that is beneficial.
Who's in the program?
United Way, have you heard of them?
Yeah. I mean, is it like a program?
It's called Communities in Schools.
Then that would be.
Communities and Schools is the national organization that United Way is working with. And they provide the framework for community school program.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a
Gotcha.
Mayor Iapati, do you have anything to share?
Yeah, I've heard that Daniel and Chris Matthias have also arrived here in Boston, so we are safe from the storms that I hope are treating you guys okay out there. We present our final project for the Best City Fellowship tomorrow afternoon. It's been a really interesting time period of, I think, 10 weeks or so, 12 weeks maybe, where we've learned a lot, including philanthropic funders for big ideas, Bob and Carol and council. So actually, it turns out that two of the experts that will be giving us feedback tomorrow on our presentation, one of them is part of the Kresge Foundation. So that was one of those that was shared with us, and I'm looking forward to hearing what they have to say. This is the East End Revitalization Project. I will share our slide deck with you all as soon as possible. Not anything meant to take away from what we're doing on the riverfront. Obviously, we know that's a priority, but there's some significant, what do they call them? Markers of like just imbalance or injustice that are present in the East End, and we need to make some good investments for that community. So I'll make sure to get the presentation to you so you know, and the feedback as well.
Thank you. Anything from staff?
The only thing I would bring up is today is the last day that the temporary winter homeless shelter is open. As you know, we opened it back on January 21st, and it's been operational every day since then, and today is that final day. We will be gathering after they've had a chance to close things down and exit the property. Give them time to prepare the final reports and the results and the data. We're doing the same here in terms of the finances. There was money donated from the three cooperating cities of East Moline, Silvis, Rock Island. About 16,500 roughly, I think, is what they donated toward the cause. So we'll be looking to true those numbers up as well to see exactly how everything balances out, which is good because that data then will help to inform discussions that the broader Illinois Quad cities are looking to address as a more permanent homeless shelter facility in the Illinois side of the river. And that effort now is being led by the county. So the good news is everyone was listening, everyone's paying attention, everybody understands that it's a clear and present need. It doesn't go away. So we will be arranging another meeting very shortly with them, and hopefully this data will already be available so you can share it with the broader group. So just passing that along. There you go.
Thank you. Barry? No, yeah. Any other staff? Do we have executive session?
No, we do not.
Awesome. Then I would entertain a motion. Astro 15. All in favor? Opposed? We are adjourned.